India is on alert after Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent issued suicide bombing threats. The terrorist group was responding to remarks made by ruling party officials that were deemed insulting to Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. The letter says it would launch suicide attacks in Delhi, Mumbai, Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat. Intelligence agencies have verified the letter. The anti-Islam remarks made by two BJP leaders have also caused clashes in some parts of India. Outraged groups and citizens are now demanding the arrest of officials. Well, let's get more on this from Ishan Garg live in New Delhi. Ishan, what is the government going to do about these suicide bombing threats? And also on a city level, those four cities, what have they done to on their own with regards to Al-Qaeda?
Well, the security forces have been put on high alert according to several reports, and it's unclear at this point what the government is doing specifically in terms of countering this potential threat. But this is becoming an issue of grave concern because it was a political issue up until yesterday. But after the agencies verified the threat, it has become an issue of national security. And several security analysts in the country say that there are several steps that the government is going to be taking on a central level as far as the armed forces are concerned and the intelligence agencies are concerned. So there is a likelihood that in the next few days there will be an increased surveillance of the known affiliates of the Al-Qaeda members or of the members of Al-Qaeda in Asia. They will be closely monitored. Online activities on suspected platforms will be closely monitored. And as far as different cities and states are concerned, there is going to be an enhanced cooperation between the federal bodies as well as the state bodies. The states that have been threatened, especially Delhi and Uttar Pradesh, these states have seen in the past some gruesome acts of terrorism. So they do have response force in place. They do have an experience in that area. But experts are also saying that this threat needs to be taken very cautiously because it is coming from one of the biggest terror organizations in the world. But they're also pointing out that the motive behind it may only be to cause fear in the country and not an actual attack. They're not ruling out the possibility of an attack, but they're saying that this seems more like a publicity stunt. But having said that, the security forces in the country are certainly not taking it lightly. They've put the forces on alert, and the government is making necessary preparations, as the reports say here.
All right, Ishan Garg in New Delhi with those recent developments. Thank you.
Well, the row over the Prophet Muhammad remarks is also causing unease in the business community. There is a growing online call for boycotting Indian goods in several Gulf countries. Well, according to reports, a supermarket in Kuwait has already removed Indian rice, spices and chilies from its shelves. And while sweeping boycotts are not yet in place, there is a lot at stake. The Middle East makes up more than 10% of India's total annual trade, accounting for more than half of the South Asian countries' oil imports. The 7 Gulf Cooperation Council nations, including Saudi Arabia and the UAE, also account for nearly 65% of India's annual remittances of over $80 billion. Now, India's government has sought to downplay the impact of the controversy on trade ties with the Middle East after Prime Minister Modi's government spent 8 years building ties with the Middle East countries to draw in investments and build a market to export Indian goods. In 2021 to 2022, India's bilateral trade with the GCC stood at nearly $154 billion.